So, a few years ago, I was sitting at my kitchen table. My husband and my daughter were on either side of me, and we're just enjoying a regular standard dinner. But then all of a sudden, tears just start falling from my eyes. And I'm talking, I can't control it. I'm ugly girl crying. And my daughter and my husband just both look at me like, what the heck is going on? Nothing had prompted it, but in that moment, I realized I was having a panic attack. Teachers across the United States are feeling this exact same thing. I, in that time, was serving as an instructional coach on the campus. I was in charge of a program that I had never ever been in charge of before. We had a teacher that just quit, didn't show up one day, and for weeks we never heard from. She had just decided this was not for her. So I was taking on her course load as trying to coach four different teachers during that time and be in charge of this program and go out to all of the meetings. And I'm telling you right now, it was not sustainable. And as I am looking at all of the alarming statistics, 56,000 teachers in the United States quit in September. In the month of September alone, teachers left the profession. And I'm here to talk about why. What is the reason that our teachers are having a mass exodus? So let's dive into it. The first reason, I have my notes here. The first reason that we're looking at is the overwhelming amount of work that is being placed on our educators. Now, when we look at all of the different facts, we see that people really enjoy completing things that they are good at. Think about it. Do you prefer to play a particular sport? When you go to the gym, do you like a particular machine? Because you're good at it. Your muscles are used to it. But here's what's happening. Educators are being thrown into things that are huge, and they are not provided the time to get great at it. Our first year teachers are being thrown into the classroom and being saying, okay, now I want you to do this. Be sure that you're doing this and do this and do this and do this and this. But we haven't given you the time to just get really good at direct instruction. And you might be thinking, Alyssa, but we have all of these compliance things that we have to take care of. We have to do this and we have to do this. I want you to think of those home building shows that used to be so popular in the 90s and early 2000s, where they would build a house in 3 days. There were an enormous amount of lawsuits that took place after the show because once the families moved into these brand new homes that were built in 3 days, they started to crumble. There were things that were wrong with it because in the beginning it looked beautiful and shiny, but it wasn't done appropriately, and the foundation is letting loose. Everything is starting. There were electrical concerns. Things were catching on fire because things were rushed. And when we do that with the children sitting in our classroom, guess what the long-term repercussions are? Gaps in reading, gaps in math, gaps in all contents. We have social and emotional learning needs not being addressed. And you know what? It's because 20,000 Band-Aids were slapped on before we could fix the bone, before we could fix the root cause. And so educators, decision makers, I am pleading with you. Let's pause. Let's take a deep breath and let's create a ladder for success. And I know you have all of this urgency placed on you to get this done. And we got to get this done. And oh my gosh, if my test scores aren't great, I'm going to lose my job. But let me tell you, if we force people into piling all the things on top, nothing is going to be taught. So I want you to take that into consideration as you're planning learning opportunities and as you're planning coaching conversations. Now, I'm also going to bring up visible support. How are we supporting our teachers on a daily basis? One of the number one complaints that I get, and I hate to say the word complaint because it is a valid concern. The number one concern that is brought up to me as I'm working alongside instructional coaches and teachers is I never see them. I never see my administrator. I never see my coach. And then they want to come into my room one day and complete an observation form about my growth, but they don't know. They don't know what it's like in here on a daily basis. Another concern that is always brought up, and that is a legit reason teachers are leaving, is classroom behaviors. They are out of control. And right now, without visibility from administrators, teachers are not feeling supported. And we know as educators, parents have too much say when it comes to consequences and when it comes to discipline. I cannot tell you how many times I've been threatened to be beaten up by a parent, and it was okay. When is that okay? When is physical abuse okay? Especially when it was for something as small as, hey, I'm going to put your cell phone in my desk. Your cell phone's going in my desk because it's just become too much. And then a parent can come behind and say, I'm going to beat you up. Like, that is not okay. So these are reasons, but let me tell you, with increased visibility from the administrators, from the instructional coaches, from the instructional leaders on the campus, teachers are going to feel more supported. We have to stop with the Band-Aids. Another great thing is just high expectations for your teachers. I was talking with an administrator the other day who was very concerned about holding other teachers to a high expectations and holding them accountable for the things that they need to get done, because they were terrified that it would create a toxic environment. But this was my response. If you do not hold teachers to those expectations, your great teachers who are following the expectations and are doing the things that they need to be doing, they're going to leave because they are tired of pulling the slack from others. I talk with teachers and coaches on the daily who are exhausted and who are frustrated because their counterparts are not showing up to meetings. They're not turning in lesson plans that they need to be doing. They're not pulling the weight that they need to be pulling. And because of that, these great teachers are taking on those responsibilities, and it is driving them out of their profession. We even see this with instructional leaders. If you're an administrator and maybe you have assistant principals or you have other colleagues who aren't pulling their weight, you are more than likely taking it on and you are running yourself into the ground. This is what is creating a mass exodus of the profession. So instructional leaders, administrators, district leaders, hold people to high expectations. I'm not asking you to micromanage. Ain't nobody like a micromanager. However, setting high expectations and holding those high expectations, that is beautiful. And that will actually lessen the workload of your exceptional educators. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is mixed signals, mixed communication. And when our teachers are receiving messages from this coordinator, this principal, this teacher, this coach, and it's all mixed, we cannot make everything a priority. And so remember, it starts from the top. District leaders, we need you to come together to, even on a whiteboard, list all the things that you're asking your campus leaders to do. You might be surprised that some of it is repetitive, or Some of it is not necessary. Not everything can be a priority. So, as a district, you need to come together and look at what you think are all the priorities and together create a progression. Which ones come first? Because at the district level, we work in silos. We work in our own content specialization or our sub pop specialization, and we are passionate about it and we want it to be the priority. However, let's be realistic. Not everything can be. And when we have 20 different departments making their thing a priority, it trickles and spills out onto the campus leaders and to the teachers. And it is not sustainable. Do we want to address it? Do we want to have it as a priority? Sure, but it is unrealistic. And so we need to remove a lot of those Band-Aids off of the teachers' plates. We have to stop with the Band-Aids. The last thing that I want to talk about, and it might be a little touchy, but it goes along with student and classroom behaviors. A lot of those classroom behaviors are created from cell phones and they're created from overexposure to screens. Do you know that the more exposure we have to screens, the less our gray matter is exercised? Our gray matter starts to disappear in that prefrontal cortex. And I want to remind you, your prefrontal cortex is what controls our logic, our problem solving, our rational thinking. So when we have an overexposure to screens, that gray matter is lost. And guess what happens when that gray matter is lost? We become overly emotionally sensitive. So our amygdala is exposed. And when our amygdala is exposed, guess how I am going to react? Irrationally, without logic. And so minimizing as much screen time as possible is the key. Because let's face it, how many fights are created because of cell phones? How many discipline concerns are created because of those laptops? I'm not saying get rid of them. Technology is a beautiful thing, but this is what I'm seeing in classrooms. Constant, continual laptop usage that's just to complete a worksheet on a screen. That, my friends, is not innovative technology. And when we can only use those, let's use our laptops when it's innovative, when we're being innovated. But if I am doing everything online, my lessons are online, my slide decks are online, every classroom submission's online, we are actually doing a disservice to our prefrontal cortex. We want to build up that gray matter. So I've kind of talked a little bit, not a little bit, a lot about some different reasons why teachers are leaving the classroom. Those outlandish student behaviors, lack of support, not provided time to get good at something before piling something else on. And I'm telling you, I am on a mission to reverse that. Let's save our education system by changing some things in our education system. If you are interested in learning more on how to do this, I want you to send me a DM, and I want to provide you with a free breakthrough coaching call. Now, I only have room for 3 in my calendar. So the first 3 that DM me, will end up with this free breakthrough coaching call, because I want to help you devise a plan for your campus or district that can truly accelerate progress and keep your best teachers. Let's do it, my friends. Send me a DM, sign up. The first 3, you're going to get it for free. And I will talk to you later. Have a wonderful Thursday, and let's keep our great teachers.